What's going on, Jack Sauce? Here we are again. It is what, day 7? Day 7 of the 2023 Bitter Pops Advent Calendar, and I'm so excited, man. Oh, it's been a long day, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it probably, well, this will be the 7th day you've heard me talk about it be a long day. Technically 5, because I did, whatever, 4 or 5. Let's just do a beer, man. I've been looking forward to this all day. Let's do day 7. Come on now. We're getting to that part of the box where it just embarrasses me. Day 7, guys. Weak throw. Everything's just falling apart already. Day 7. We are doing the Campfire Flannel Brown Ale. I do like a good brown ale. From Tangle Roots. Okay, cool. Tangle Roots. Something I haven't tried, actually. It's a brewery I haven't tried. They're way out in the western burbs of Chicago, in Ottawa, Illinois, I think is where they're from, right? Yeah, Ottawa, Illinois. I know a little bit about these guys because I've heard a lot of people, they've said, have you tried Tangle Roots? My father is he lives out in the western burbs, and he's a big western burbs beer guy. He's actually my insider source for all things western burbs. I don't get out there enough to the breweries. There's some really good ones. This one's supposed to be really, really good. Ottawa, Illinois, that's where Starved Rock is here in the state. It's a great place for camping and apparently a great place to get a beer. I know these guys, people tell me, oh, have you been to Tangle Roots restaurant? They have like multiple restaurants. They're not just a brewery. They're all about beer and they're all about food. I don't know if the restaurant came first, if the brewery came first. Really not that sure, but I've heard great things about both the food and the beer. I do know that they own their own farm. They go under the moniker of From Farm to Foam, which is kind of a fun, geeky beer term in my opinion, meaning they grow their own hops, they use their own grains coming from their own farm, which I'm all about self-sustainability when it comes to farming, small boutique kind of farms. I like it for meats, things like Slagel Farms, for instance, for beef and chicken and pork and whatnot for barbecue. If you haven't had Slagel Farms, just trust me on that one. But I also think it's really cool in the beer world. I'm all about that stuff, being a food and beer nerd. So let's get into this. Brown ale, all right? I am a big fan of brown ales. I'm not going to lie. One of my favorite old school beers, Newcastle Brown Ale. That's a great classic northern brown ale from England. Brown ales themselves really get their most notoriety from English beers. I know the style goes farther back than that. It doesn't really have like a full historical lineage of where the style came from, but it really became popular in the 18th century of England. Northern England had a little bit more mild, a little bit more malty, a little bit more bitterness from hopping, malty, and then in the south was those deeper, darker, maltier ones, higher in ABV and whatnot. Both are going to be malty. The style itself kind of died out in the 19th century, It was a little more expensive to produce this, using the brown malt. The popular stouts and porters in England kind of killed it off. Until like the 1920s, 30s, it kind of became a popular style again. It kind of started building. I do believe it was really popular in the 1970s again. And then, of course, the American craft brew scene got a hold of it and has turned it into its own. You have the traditional style brown ales, but they take this all over the place. The big, bold, hoppy, crazy beers to something like this, the Campfire Flannel, which is very interesting because I have a feeling this has like a smokiness to it, more like a Scottish ale, if you will. And if I'm reading about this, it does. It brings hints of smoke that will magically transport you to a nighttime campfire when you're wearing a cozy flannel shirt. I love when you get a great little just statement on a can like that. It appeals to the nerd, the branding nerd in me. So, Campfire Flannel from brown ale from Tangle Roots. Let's check it out, shall we? Bad pour. Minus points right there. Holy crap. All right, it's very hard to see the color because I just put nothing but head on this thing. Toledo, man. That didn't help it. All right, let's just give it a shot. So there's a very interesting, that is a very nutty brown kind of color on the bottom there. Copper hues underneath it. Let's fast forward this part, shall we? Jesus, all that head. That's my fault. I'm sorry, Tangle Roots. I want to get into this thing so bad. It's very much so not a lot of brown ales have a little bit more clarity to it. This is super, super dense, man. On the nose through, big creamy head. I feel like I have to let this sit for a little bit, but we don't have time. This is the beer review. All right, let's take a look. There is a hint of smoke on it, but not overbearing. It really has kind of that nutty brown ale smell. There's some candied fruits too there, figs, plum, like that. But really the nuttiness is what's overtaking. The malty kind of niceness, burnt toffee, burnt caramel, really is in there as well. Let's see if we can fight through this. Oh, that's good. Man, that is heavy on the mouth. That has such a beautiful mouthfeel. Campfire, maybe because it's called the Campfire Flannel, it makes the texture of it, it's kind of marshmallowy dense. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like when you get a s'more off the campfire and you get that really nice, soft, kind of heavy mouthfeel. This beer kind of kicks that. Tons of nuttiness, malty sweetness, tons of malty sweetness, tons of caramel to it. Chocolate, man, that marshmallow, again, I'm going with the gram, even, man, there's s'mores qualities to this beer. Maybe it's just, you know, the nostalgia of Campfire Flannel. Maybe they did this really well, man. That's a great beer. That's a great, well-controlled American brown ale. Guys, have a great night. I'm going to go sit back. I wish I had an actual fireplace, but living in Chicago doesn't always work that way. Some people do. I'm just not one of the lucky ones. Guys, have a great night. Not gonna lie, it was driving me absolutely crazy. What the heck was that spot on my sweatshirt? And why didn't I look at my sweatshirt before I filmed that beer review? Look, I have it here too. It turns out that it is indeed a little bit of Jack sauce. I was tasting a little batch beforehand, got a little on my shirt, did a beer review, and that's how amateurish this thing will always be. It's what we do, right, Jax? It's what we do. One take.